everyone, and welcome to the Jeff Bullis Show. Today I have with me Gualter Amarelo. Now, Gualter is the author of the book Broke to a Quarter Million and also the founder of alchemystnation.com. Basically, he earned $3 million through his business, nearly $500,000 simply by using his own real-world experiences to help hundreds of students create high levels of success in their own lives. Gualter has become a multimillionaire through his businesses, nearly $500,000 simply by using his own real-world experiences. But Gualter isn't always a millionaire. In fact, for about 10 years, he struggled with a series of failed businesses and side hustles. And a lot of us know what that feels like. While working for the man, okay, not for himself. He's wondering why it was impossible to get any of his ideas off the ground. At one point, he was so broke after a tragic divorce that he had to move in with his brother. Embarrassing at any age, but especially at age 30. Gualter, I can totally identify with it. I had to close the business and I moved in with my brother. But I was 50. Okay, so there you go. So luckily we have brothers that care and love us. It's really, really cool.
Truth, man.
So then he received some advice that would change his life. A wealthy mentor told him to study the strategies and mindset of people who are already wealthy and find out what they had in common to make them successful. That's when he became obsessed with real estate, and the rest is history. Now, after years of trial and error, Gualter has created a step-by-step copy and paste system that anyone can use to create wealth. I'm going to touch on that today. Disclosure, we are not an advising firm. Basically, get your own advice on investment, but these are going to be real-life stories that reveal how it worked for Gualter. These are powerful investing strategies that help anyone at any level find ideal people to surround themselves with a partner and draw to you at all the right money-making opportunities. He calls it alchemy. Welcome to the show, Gualter. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Jeff. It's really great to be here, man. We've been looking forward to this for a long time.
Well, we do have something in common. We have brothers that love us, so it's pretty cool. So was he a younger brother or a older brother?
So younger brother by about a year and a half. So he and I have always been like the same height. We've been into the same stuff. So it was actually really cool moving in with him, except for the pride, ego thing of, having lost basically all my money, all my relationships, and my job all at the same time. So it was, one of those bittersweet moments.
Yeah. Well, I was thankful. Grief and losing sometimes is a gift. We just don't realize it at the time. And what I'm thankful for, I spent a year with my brother, and I got to know him a lot better, and the relationship is so much better because of it. And growing up as boys in the family house is one thing, but hanging out with your brother when you're hopefully a little bit more grown up as an adult is a different thing. So it's great. So, Gualter, let's go back to, I suppose, the start of your entrepreneurial journey, because that's what we cover a fair bit here, is what was the inspiration to become an entrepreneur and also to get into real estate? There's maybe two different questions, but...
Yeah. And I got to clear up the bio. I've got to go clean that thing up. So my net worth right now is 5 million, and we built a $14 million real estate company. And I started off, completely broke, had nothing. My family fought about money all the time. So like that was one of the inspirations at 14 years old. I just said, man, like I got to change my family history. I got to change like the path I'm on, because otherwise I'm going to be fighting, just like my parents are. I'm not going to have anything. And I started working a job at 14, paying $4 an hour, and I would save like every single dollar. I go home at the end of the week and have like 80 bucks, and I would save all $80. And I did that for about 2 years, and I'd saved somewhere close to $4,000, and I lent it to my parents to pay off credit cards. And I've discovered later on that they had even more credit cards. I never even touched it. So like that messed me up so much internally, as a 16-year-old kid who really thought he was helping his family, to find out that, my family had like done literally nothing with that money. They were falling behind anyway. And I just became so obsessed with, how does money work? Why are people so obsessed with, why is my dad never home? He's working 3 jobs to support the family, but not getting by. And yet we were also in a community where people were really wealthy, and, they were going on vacations all the time. They could do all these cool things. And I couldn't understand how like life couldn't be that unfair, where somebody could just be born on the wrong side of the tracks and never have anything. And I just became absolutely obsessed with getting on the other side. And, the wealth gap, just seeing it, it was just so clear to me that there is truly a wealth gap, and it was growing. And I felt that if I couldn't get across now, eventually like would be so deep and so wide that I never could. And real estate was something my dad always said to me. We'd be driving in the car, and this guy called Dave Lindahl. He has these CDs, and he's just super well known back in the '80s for being the real estate guru. My dad would listen to those in the red Caravan, and he'd say, "Son, the rich buy real estate, right? They buy real estate and they stay rich. The rich get richer and the poor stay poor." And I said, "Okay, Dad, like how much real estate do we own?" And the answer was none.
Right.
And that answer never changed. Not until I think I was 28 years old after my divorce, my dad finally bought his first piece of real estate in his 50s. But I had already bought two by the time I was in that divorce. And I nearly lost them in the divorce. And that was, one of those scary moments. Mm-hmm. And how did I get started? I think was your second question. I was in a real estate investor RIA, just a real estate investor association meetup. And the guy in the front of the stage said, "You can get rich in real estate." And like he said the word that I was looking for, rich. And I just attracted to that word. And I went up to him afterwards and said, like, "How do I do it?" Like I said, I got three things against me. One, my family's broke. I know nobody who's rich, and I don't have any money or any credit. Like there's four things, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't have any of the things you just talked about needing to be successful in real estate. And he said, "Well, read this book." And he gave me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And that book just totally changed my mind on success and wealth, but it opened up this kind of porthole of you need to keep reading books. And I've stayed in this state of analysis paralysis for years. And over the last decade, I've read 350 books on personal development, business, and real estate. And it wasn't fast, Jeff. It wasn't fast. My first property took me a year to find and buy. Then it was 4 years before I did my next property. But once I'd hit that second property, every year I'd pick something up. Every year I'd buy one, then I was buying two, then I was buying three in a year. And I started stacking up doors and getting into multifamily. And that's kind of scale, right?
And by multifamily, you mean apartments? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So my first multifamily was a 3-family. So it was 3 apartments. And then the second one was a 2-family, and then another 3. And then I started realizing that the amount of time it took me to buy one property, I should be going after bigger deals. So I started buying 6 families and 12 families. And then 2 years ago, I bought 24 condos all in one shot because I like to do one deal a year. And if you could just do a slightly bigger deal each year, it doesn't take as much work to do. Like contracts are all contracts. It's just one conversation with the attorney, one conversation with the lender, one conversation with the realtors or the brokers. And then you lock down the deal. So instead of doing these tiny little deals, I could just do one bigger deal. And the capital raise is the same as well, the money I'm borrowing from people.
Right. So real estate's one thing, but you still have to generate cash flow because real estate gives you leverage, but it's the yields on real estate can be quite low, and especially in Australia compared to the US. So what have you done to generate cash flow?
I love that question. So during the divorce, I quit my job because I was, trying to keep my wife, and I was an accountant prior to this. I got my real estate license. I started building a real estate agency business. And my first year I made 17,000. So I was terrible, couldn't communicate with people. I was an introvert. And I started taking all these sales trainings. And the second year I made 115. And the third year I made about the same, but I'd automated it. I built a team of agents who would go and do the work for me. And then from that point, I started scaling that agency business until we eventually shifted over to just a training business. Right. And the training kind of came out of, well, I needed to attract agents. I need to attract clients, investors, and I need to attract agents. So creating content that was educational drew them in. And eventually I realized I could actually get paid up front by just charging. And once I charged them, they were more likely to work with me on the back end, on the actual business that I was running. And that was kind of, you need a stream of income when you're investing in real estate. You need something because these properties take a year or two to stabilize. There's no immediate cash flow. That's right. And then if you're not going big enough, the cash flow is so minimal. You're looking at $100 a door, $200 a door until year 4. Year 4, you can get those cash flow figures up to $500, $600 a door, but you got to hold them long enough for the rents to go up. You got to hold them and stabilize them and improve the properties long enough for that business to really get ridiculous. Like now that portfolio we have brings in almost $600,000 a year. But in year 1, it was, we were close to almost 300,000 a year. And that was mostly covering expenses, pretty much always covering expenses.
Yeah. And that's a challenge, isn't it? So basically, you generated cash flow initially to help invest in real estate by providing. You actually were working as a real estate agent. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was like just paying for my bills. Like that was paying for my bills. It
Yep.
was paying for all the debt I had accumulated as going through all the gurus and all those trainers. I'm sure the same as me. Like I spent over 130,000 in personal development and
Mm.
stacking on cards. So like I was taking all my money from the agency and just paying off bills and like living. So real estate, I still didn't have money to buy real estate. I was
No.
going through creative strategies, seller financing, subject to existing mortgages, like taking over somebody's mortgage, or raising private capital, using hard money, using commercial loans that are asset based. Like I had to just learn all these creative financing strategies because I just never had money. It seemed like anything I earned, the government either took it, or I was investing in myself, or I was spending money on marketing, or I was taking a course. And
Mm.
it just kept, the funnel just kept pulling. Any money I made kept going right back out.
Yeah. So tell us more about the training side. So you were connecting two sides of the market. You're connecting the people that are finding properties, and then you're finding investors who wanted to buy properties. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So tell us about the training. So that meant you were training the real estate agents in terms of systems to uh, both get the listings, as we call it in Australia, and then you're approaching and trying to attract investors. So and did you train both sides? Like, and also, so the other question really, I suppose, is how did you? Is it one training system, or do you have a training for real estate agents slash the finders, and then the investors? Was there a training for both of them, or the investors already just are just bringing money to the table?
It's interesting. So we ended up doing a training for both and then eventually started merging them because the strategies are actually very similar. Sales is sales, marketing is marketing, where a agent who wants listings is the same exact training as an investor who wants off-market properties.
Mm.
So we started putting our agents and our investors into this how to get off-market properties training, where it's a lot of cold calling, mailing, emailing, texting, door knocking. It's pretty heavy, aggressive stuff. And then we would shift our agents over into the same trainings that we're giving our real estate buyers. So buyers are looking to learn how to invest in real estate. They're doing evaluations. Agents need to be able to teach this. In order for them to market, they need to be able to teach the same stuff that I'm teaching the buyers, those buyer agents, those investors.
Mm.
And so I had a third class. This was kind of my opening funnel for agents was, hey, would you like to learn how to teach investors how to invest in real estate? Would you like to have investors come to you instead of you chasing them?
Mm.
And the reason I say investors is because the average person buys one house per every 7 years, whereas an investor wants to buy 7 houses every year. So the return
Mm.
on investment is 49 times,
Mm.
7 times 7.
Mm-hmm. So this training system, when did you put that in place?
So it was a manual process in the beginning, and we used to do live events. So our whole company was just all super local. This was way before COVID, and everything was just we put them together. We'd say, okay, on Wednesdays we were teaching agents right after the agents. So Wednesdays we teach agents at 5, and then we bring in the investors at 6. So the agents already had the right mindset. And I said, hey, here's a benefit. I'm going to put you in the same room as all my investors. Be nice. Don't fight with each other, but just be the most valuable educating person. And then I had on Mondays, we still do the Monday call for the wholesalers, the people who are looking to find off market properties. I invited the agents into that training as well and said, look, if you want listings, you got to list to last. You need to learn how to talk to sellers, find sellers, and again, create training that makes the sellers come to you. So what does a seller want? They want to know how to fix their house, their DIY people, what can I do in my property to make the property sell for more? How do I evaluate my property? And you got to basically talk a little smack about Zillow and say Zillow's not going to be accurate. You need a real person to come out and take a look at the property. And
Mm.
those kind of trainings for agents and wholesalers and just merging those together.
Right. Okay. So do you offer that course now?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those are now recorded. I taught it so many times that I was like, you know what, this is not scalable with me keep teaching it. So
That's
that's where Alchemist Nation came into place. Is I put all my trainings out there and now I offer it to other influencers as well and say, hey, you can put your own training on the platform and just be respectful, be valuable at the platform, decide how valuable you are by creating great content. But it started off as just a place for me to put my stuff so that people could get it for free or get it and I wouldn't have to teach. So I respond to questions that are higher level instead of how do I find sellers? How do I find buyers?
Hmm. So you've created a step-by-step system to help people invest in real estate.
Yeah.
So is that part of the training, or is that a separate system?
So that's a separate course. We call that Names on Deeds. And Names on Deeds is designed with 7 steps, right? There are 7 steps to putting your name on a property, putting your name on deeds. And I don't know, Jeff, what do they call it in Sydney? What is the title of the property or the
Title.
deed? Title. Okay, so
Yep.
we would have to name the course a little differently in Australia. We call it Name on Titles,
Okay.
but or Names on Titles. But the idea is first you have to pick a strategy, and this is where most investors go wrong. And I think you've probably seen this in entrepreneurs. If you don't have the core strategy chosen, then any idea that comes along the way is going to distract you.
Mm-hmm.
And then because real estate is super local, we could say in the digital market as well, right? If you focus on Facebook, then focus on Facebook, but don't try to do TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat with the same content. You're going to have change your market strategy. So strategy, I chose multifamily. Location, I chose Massachusetts. And then everything from that point, those two never change. You stay with those. And then it's find deals. That's number 3. Number 4 is evaluate the properties. Number 5 is submit the offers. Number 6, and this is where everybody messes up. Number 6 is build a capital stack. Find the funds. Everybody comes to me saying, man, like, I don't have the money to invest. And it's like, yeah, you don't have a deal. That's why I don't have money.
Right.
Nobody's going to give you money without something to invest in. They need to see an ROI. They need to see, what are they going to make? And then the 7th step is manage. How do you manage the property once you take it over? Because that's the other fear that I get is, tenants and toilets. How am I going to take care of all these properties if I'm taking them on? And it's like, those are the last 2 steps. Your big fears are not even a concern because you're not past the first 5. Like you haven't taken the process to get to the first 5. And then the whole concept of like the mentorship that we built, that is kind of a manual process still, is you need to buy the property that's the right size to retire you. If you're buying small single families that only bring in $100,000 a year, you're going to need a lot of those if you're looking to make $10,000 a month. Or if you can go and buy a 50 unit property or a 25 unit property that you can get up to $400 a month cash flow, that's going to make the same $10,000 a month. And that's one deal, one strategy, one property manager, one location. Mm-hmm. So it's working and tweaking the strategy to a person's income and their retirement goals. Can we do it in a year? Yeah, it's tough, but 3 to 5 years, it's very easy. 3 to 5 years is simple to become a millionaire or simple to become financially free.
So could you just sum up those 7 steps again, just for our listeners and viewers?
Yep. So 7 steps. First is strategy. Second is location. Third is find deals or create deal flow. The 4th is evaluate properties. The 5th is submit offers. And if you're evaluating properties, you need to submit those offers within 15 minutes. Otherwise, analysis paralysis sets in. And then the 6th is fund the deal, build the capital stack. And the 7th is manage the property.
Right. Now, you mentioned another term, which is off-market properties. In other words, ones that aren't listed through normal real estate agents. So tell us why that's important. Why is it important to find off-market properties?
I love it. So Jeff, you understand this because you're a marketer, right? Your goal is to get more eyeballs on you, more eyeballs on the product. Well, that's also a real estate agent's goal. That's what the market is designed for, is to get more people looking at your property. But that drives up competition. It drives up the price of your product, drives up the demand for your product. If you can go off market, there's no competitors. There's nobody else to compete with your price, no offer, no bidding wars. So the idea of going to a seller before they've put it onto the place where all the eyeballs are, you have a much better opportunity to get a good deal.
Right. So the other challenge for people, and that you mentioned too, and where most fear sets in, is debt. Okay. And capital investment, venture capitalists, whatever, investors. Tell us what your strategy is on debt and your philosophy around it.
Absolutely. I love debt, but I like controlled debt. In real estate, the people got hung in 2008 were the people who were over leveraged, too much debt at a time where debt didn't make sense. We're at a point right now where risk off is a much better strategy than risk on. We're looking at a bubble all across the world, but primarily in the real estate market in the United States, we're paying attention to 2023, 2024. But when I think of debt right now as an asset. The debt that I have against inflation, inflation was just put out as 7.5%. So I'd rather have the bank's money burning that 7.5% each year instead of my money in the bank where I'm now making the loss. So I'm borrowing their money, and that money is bought into an asset that is appreciating at that 7.5% while their dollars are going down in value. So and that's where that appreciation shows up, right? With the asset, you've bought an asset with debt, that asset keeps going up, but the debt stays the same. Well, real estate, it's actually amortized, so it actually gets paid down a little bit by the tenants. So when it comes to a market like this, an inflationary market, we are heavy debt. We want to be in debt. We want to borrow as much money as possible so that the bank can lose those funds and we can gain the net, the arbitrage of the inflation factor.
Okay, so that sounds
Now,
good.
how much percentage of debt is a good question. So we always buy at a 20% discount. So day one, I'm at a 20% equity position anyway. But then we do a forced appreciation play where we're improving the properties, change out the management, put in new tenants, do rent increases, and that puts us at another 20% equity position. So within 6 months to a year, we can be at a 40% equity, 60% debt. But as we hold for 4 more years, we're getting the appreciation of the market.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a decent landlord, you can raise the rents that 5% each year, and that 5% increase raises the value of the property because properties are based on their income. But multifamily is based on its income. So you can reasonably in 4 years be at a 60% equity position. And my portfolio right now is a 5-year portfolio. It's at a 71% equity position. And that's I like that number. It feels good. It feels comfortable at night.
Yeah.
First year was a little tight, but then it gets better and better as you hold.
Yeah, so 70% equity position is really, really good. But the position when you start is maybe where, I suppose, and if you join the market at the wrong time, and this is something I reflect on, and I'm sure other people do too, is that interest rates are touted to be increasing, maybe even doubling, tripling. We're going to go from just over 0% wholesale interest rates into 2s and 3s. Yeah. It's almost like you've got to be careful that you don't join the dance when the dance is about to finish. So
you don't want to be in the winner's circle.
Yeah. So because you might buy a property now, which prices are increasing all around the world. As you said, it's a bubble. It's happening in Australia. We're talking 20, 30% increases in even a year. What do you see happening with interest rates and capital values? And America is actually quite a different market to Australia. Our rent yield is a lot lower. So where do you see the interest rates playing in investment, and how are you going to de-risk or protect yourself against interest rate increases, especially if someone's going to be geared at 80% debt, you're 20% equity, 80% debt. How do you see as protecting yourself from that?
I love it. There are some factors that are coming into play that are even bigger and more interesting than like the interest rates themselves. And so I'll answer the interest rate question, but we also have to look at the big generations, right? The size of the baby boom generation, the size of the millennial generation, and the age that people move out of their properties. So when somebody starts dying, their property gets left. It's given to the family. Typically, they don't keep it. They sell it at a discount because they don't want to hold it anymore. It's got memories. It's usually beat up. Hasn't been fixed in the last 10, 15 years. So we're looking at this trend of baby boomers who are just at that 75, 76-year-old mark. And the average age of somebody who lives in America is 70, 77, 78. So they're about 2 years out from this massive, we're talking a mass population of people just letting go of their properties. That's going to have a much larger impact than the credit, the interest rates. But when you look at interest rates, we as investors like interest rates going up. So we're locking in our rates now. We're locking in everything that we have at the moment at these 2%. And on commercial, we pay a little bit more. We're paying 4%, 5%, but it's okay because it cash flows. What we are looking at is when interest rates go up, prices come down.
That's right.
So we don't mind paying higher interest rates because we make our money on the purchase. We make our money on how much we paid for the property because we can always pay off the property. We could sell the property. And that appreciation gap makes a lot more sense for us. So having high interest rates, in fact, I've bought properties at 15% interest, over the last 10 years of buying. I bought properties at 12%. because I couldn't get traditional financing. I had to go through hard money.
Yeah.
I had to go through these different means of borrowing money. So you just have to make sure that your property cash flows. And this is what I tell everybody: if you can buy at 12%, man, just wait till you refinance. It's gonna be golden. It's gonna be amazing, because all that cash flow is now yours.
Mm-hmm.
And so in this market, in this height of a market, you have to buy for cash flow. You can't look at real estate as appreciation. You can't play the crypto game and the stock market game.
No.
You invest for cash flow. And if it cash flows and the market drops, you still got cash flow tomorrow. You're still winning.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the challenge. A lot of people buy emotionally. They see something and they're going, I'm going to get this amount capital gain. That's almost a bonus. And you're also looking at, I suppose, increasing the capital value by adding value to the property. And what's your strategy in adding value at the lowest possible investment cost?
So I don't know how many flippers you've talked to, but I hang with the flip coaches. All my students have been through all the gurus who flip, do wholesaling. And for us, I don't like broken homes. I don't like homes that are beaten up. I like homes that have vacancy. I like when a property has, 10 or 20% vacancy. They're missing tenants. I like homes when the rents, there's something we call loss to lease. This means that the rent should be 1,000 and the rent's 750. So those are the problems I like to solve, because I know the owner of the property is getting beat up financially because of the management. They're either managing themselves, or they have a property manager in there who just doesn't know how to manage tenants themselves. Typically, there's a disease in the real estate market of property managers who are good at fixing buildings. They're property managers, but they're not people managers. And so I'll replace a property manager with a people manager. And that's how we get the units filled up. That's how we get the rents increased. And we build deeper relationships with our tenants, as opposed to making sure everything works in the property. Like that, fixing a property is easy. Anybody can hire a contractor. Making sure the relationships with the tenants, the residents, that's where you make money in real estate. So I don't look for the broken homes. I look for the broken relationships, and I like to solve those problems.
I like that. You get people to be, instead of property managers, you get them to be people managers.
Yeah.
So it means you're looking after the tenant, but also because you're looking after the tenant, that gives you the ability to fix the home with a tenant still in it. Is that what you're talking about? And also being able to actually then respectfully ask for a price increase. Is that correct?
My mentor told me this. He said the secret to real estate investing is be a decent human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at him, I was like, what do you mean? And he said, you've always got to show up. You've got to treat them with respect. You've got to talk to them, have communication with them. You got to find out what their issues are. When they say they can't pay rent, say, I understand. Times are tough. I get it. What can you do? How can we work together? And you have to understand, I've got a mortgage. I've got, property managers on staff that I have to pay for. I want to keep you as a tenant. And I also want to keep my building and pay the bank who I made a commitment to, I built a relationship with. And just remember, you and I made a commitment to each other that you would pay X amount and I would give you a good, clean, safe place to live. And that conversation goes a long way. A person, just go back to their ethics and their morals, and a person's going to come back and say, you know what, you believe in me, I'm going to find a way. And if they really can't, they're going through a financial situation, well, okay, like I can help you get on Raft, I can help you get on other sort of programs. We don't like to lose tenants. But if a tenant for some reason is disruptive or is dealing drugs or is some sort of damage to the other tenants in the building, I'm going to remove them with ruthlessness. I have no place in my heart for people who damage the lives of other people around them.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the simple ways you do add value in terms of what you do to the property?
Awesome. So most people think fix the roof, update the electrical, put new, but it doesn't work. They can't see it. Yes, you got it. What does a tenant want? A tenant doesn't want the squeaky door. A tenant wants nice paint. They want the house to feel bright. So we change the lighting fixtures. We change out the old, the switches on the walls with bright white switches. These things cost us nothing, but all the landlords will keep them in. We don't leave the wooden panels. We paint everything white. We just make the house feel bright. The old cabinets, even if we're keeping the cabinets, they're going to be white cabinets. We're going to go stainless steel knobs. It doesn't cost us a lot of money. It's just attention to detail. It's attention to care. We'll recaulk things. We make sure leaks aren't happening. And we just let them know we exist. And then once a unit's been renovated, it just feels better, smells better. And we have a little secret with the paint. So when we paint, we have this smell that we put into the paint itself. It's made by Glade or one of those companies. And so the house smells like lavender for like 3 months after we've painted it. So little touches of like, hey, we care. We don't want your house smelling like noxious paint. So
that's very cool. Yeah. So in other words, you fix what is visible and audible.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So in terms of, let's go back to your training. So Alchemist Nation, what sort of training do you provide? And tell us a bit more about that.
So it started off with the core courses: how to find deals, how to be a real estate agent, how to find properties, and then how to find the buyers that you could work with. Then it became how to educate buyers, how to do sales, and became negotiating. Then it became marketing, and now we're bringing in mindset coaches because we figured, hey, like the problem is not necessarily the technical skills anymore. Why are they not moving forward? And I started bringing guys who've trained with Tony Robbins or Marshall Silver and started getting them moving forward with mindset stuff. And then I opened it up to coaches who do relationships because, oh, my spouse won't let me. My spouse won't let me buy a piece of real estate was one of the biggest objections that I was getting. And so I just started opening it up and saying, look, I'm not a specialist in this stuff. If I went through a divorce, but I can, put out something on Facebook and ask who knows a great coach who served in this arena. And we started getting into the affiliate marketing space almost by accident, just by saying, who can do this, who can service my community. And then I started getting referral checks. Hey, I'm working with your guy, and they went to a deeper program. But I just ask millionaires to donate courses. And that's kind of how Alchemist Nation started becoming, something valuable to people. Is like my email campaigns value add. Hey, here's a new course that just came out. Here's a new course that just came out. Grant Cardone submitted a new course. So go check it out. This is an opportunity. Mm-hmm. And so now it's scaling up to business, sales, marketing, affiliate marketing. Real estate is becoming a smaller piece to the over global goal of what we're looking to do now. We just want to make education free. We want people to be able to come on the platform, get free education. If they want a deeper relationship with a coach or a speaker, that's available. But really just education should be free, and it shouldn't be so hard to find. It should be organized. It should be concise and quick. Easy,
cool.
Fun.
Cool. So people can find that at alchemistnation.com. Is that correct?
You got it, Jeff. Thank you, man. I love the name drop.
Okay. So let's just, before we finish off, what are some of the most valuable things you've learned as an entrepreneur, as a real estate investor? What is maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you could share that, because you've obviously had a tough journey, you're thriving and flourishing now. What is your top tips that you can share with us and our viewers and listeners?
I'll share. This doesn't just come from me. This comes from a billionaire I was on a podcast with the other day, and he built multiple billion-dollar companies. And what he said to me was, you need 3 things. The first is you got to believe in yourself. And he said it to this room of like 40 other people. And I asked him, I was like everybody hears that, but they don't understand it. And he went back and he re-emphasized what it means to believe in yourself. You have to believe it's possible, not just that somebody could do what you're looking to do, but it's possible that you might be the person who is actually capable of doing that. You may not be there today, but at some point that possibility is going to manifest in itself through the relationships you build, the skills and the strategies you acquire over the course of your time. The second thing you require is a sexy idea. It has to be something attractive that not just you can get involved in, but other investors can get involved in. Raising capital in real estate, raising capital as a business, and inspiring your employees. Because I started off as a business owner with agents. You have to have a sexy vision, something that people can attach themselves to and say, I want to be a part of this movement. And even if I'm working for free at first, it's okay because it's inspiring, it's sexy. We're going to do something here. And then the third one is you have to let people know about it. And this is where most people, get the advice from the guru, don't tell anybody what you're doing, right? And even Gary Vee sometimes says it to protect people's emotions of what if somebody tells me it's a bad idea. You have to really believe in it. Like that comes back to one. You got to believe in it so much. And it has to be so cool that you're willing to share it with people. And if somebody hates it, get used to it. 1/3 of the people you talk to are going to hate your idea, no matter how good it is. Mm-hmm. Look at Tesla, right? 1/3 of the people that you talk to, still Tesla has haters, right? So you have to just go out and communicate it.
Okay. So number 1, believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Number 2, come up with a great idea. That's a challenge for a lot of people, though.
Yeah.
They don't know what's a good idea or a great idea or a boring idea. And number 3 is to tell everyone about it. It's the marketing piece.
Yeah.
Love it. Really, really cool. Thanks very much for coming on the Jeff Bullis Show. It's been, Gualter, it's been an absolute pleasure. How can people find you and get in touch with you if they want to find out more?
I am on alchemistnation.com at all times. Just type in my name in the profile. You can send me a message right there, live chat, and just ask questions or take one of the courses. But I'm available. Me personally, I'm available. My partners are available. And until one day I can't sustain it, but within 24 hours, I always get back to people. So alchemistnation.com, man.
Great. Thanks, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. And look forward to sharing this with my audience. And look forward to catching up in Tampa one day, maybe for a margarita or something. Here, there you go.
You might convince me to come out to Sydney, Jeff.
Yeah.
And I want to see if I can get you to donate a course. I know you got the content. I know you got the knowledge. So there may be a way to get you on the platform.
All right, we'll check it out and we'll talk further. Okay.